if you look at the definition of Motor Vehicle Act, you will find that they do define something which could also be the definition of an automobile. But that doesn't mean they're equal, because the question is it a full and complete definition? If you look at the definition of accident under the Motor Vehicle Act, the definition of accident it says includes an intentional collision. So the question is, if accident is not a full and complete definition, then how can they claim that the definition of motor vehicle in the Motor Vehicle Act is full and complete? It's not. And the other attribute, there is an attribute that separates a motor vehicle from an automobile. And that attribute is, in fact, that the owner has voluntarily registered. They have voluntarily registered their private property, and now it is a motor vehicle. They can use it to deliver pizzas if they want. They can use it to engage in commerce on the highway. They never had an obligation to do so, but now it is a motor vehicle. It is no longer legally considered merely to be a private automobile. So the question is, are we obliged to register? Again, if you look in the Motor Vehicle Act, you know what you find? You find that it states the owner must apply for and receive registration in the form required by ICBC. They tell you flat out you have to apply for it, and we know apply means to beg. And since you are never obliged to beg in a common law jurisdiction, this is entirely voluntary. So that's what I see so far. Bear in mind, this is just a little background information for you there, Mr. Kashid. We have no obligation to register our privately owned property with ICBC, and if we don't, you have no right to claim that it's a motor vehicle covered under the Motor Vehicle Act because we haven't registered it. That's what the Motor Vehicle Act says. So here's the big question that I have, which really angers me. Well, it doesn't really anger me, but I don't like it when I try to get answers for this and people who should know better, who have a duty to know better, give me a runaround. There's a concept in law. If an act, such as the Motor Vehicle Act, has the intent or effect of removing a previously existing right, like our right to travel, it must do so clearly, specifically, and unequivocally. It must mention the right. If it doesn't mention the right, it can't be deemed to affect it. Rights not mentioned are deemed unaffected. The Motor Vehicle Act does not mention the previously existing right. It creates no obligation whatsoever to register, but it does create in the mind of the police officers the duty that they can stop us for not doing so. The reason is that the Motor Vehicle Act was created by the politicians in the government. So we'll put Gov right here. Now, they created this Motor Vehicle Act. They could have used very unambiguous, very easily understood language, but they didn't, because then our rights would be very obvious. And they wouldn't have created for the police officers the color of right. Now, what they've done with this Motor Vehicle Act, they empower ICBC. And ICBC hires agents, policy enforcement officers. You know them as police. And if they catch you acting in contravention of the policies of ICBC as created by the government, they take you where? To court. Where, because you are in contravention of ICBC's policies, you have to pay money to the government. Now, to avoid paying money to the government, you can just pay money right to ICBC, in which case they will then pay the police and pay the government. So it's their opinion that one way or another, you are going to pay merely to exercise your right to travel. And yet there's nothing in the Motor Vehicle Act which allows this. And if you try to get them to distinguish between a motor vehicle and an automobile, driving and traveling, they refuse to do this. Why? Because you have here essentially four groups. You have the people in the government, you have the people in ICBC, you have the people in the police, and you have the people in the courts. And they all work together to extract money from you. And then when you try going to any one of them, talking about your right to travel, you get what you witnessed with ICBC. They don't want to talk to you. Oh, go talk to the province. And the province will say, oh, you got to go talk to the courts or go talk to ICBC. Police will say, take it up with the judge. Take it up with the government. And essentially what you have is four groups of people, all of whom getting very rich off of this little scam, playing keep away. And the simple fact is, if any single one of them were to accept and fulfill their duties, none of this would happen. ICBC, if the government didn't create a body of words like the Motor Vehicle Act, which was clearly designed to be deceptive, then ICBC wouldn't think that they had a mandate which empowered them to interfere with the common law right to travel. Police officers wouldn't be interfering with the common law right to travel because they would know if ICBC told them what the limits of their authority was, which they haven't done. But if ICBC did tell them this, then they wouldn't be coming and interfering with that common law right to travel. Take it up to the courts. But hey, in the courts, the moment you accept the court services, you have essentially subjected yourself to the jurisdiction of the government. And at that point, if you're going against them based on the charges they bring you under the policy of ICBC, instead of questioning the jurisdiction, they assume that you are automatically operating under the Motor Vehicle Act and your common law right to travel has nothing to do with it. So why doesn't one of these groups of people simply do their duty? Because they're making so much money off of it. It's an insane amount of money that they're making. It's a big scam. So that's what I want to know about. That's one of my concerns right there, is my common law right to travel and how the government, ICBC, the police, and the courts all seem to be acting in collusion and conspiracy to deny what clearly is still in existence, the right to travel. You try asking the police if they distinguish between a motor vehicle and an automobile, or a driver and a traveler, and they are either incapable or unwilling to do that. Now, you wouldn't give someone a gun without teaching them how to use it properly. So why do we empower the police with the Motor Vehicle Act when they are incapable of distinguishing between a driver and a traveler, an automobile, and a motor vehicle? They shouldn't be enforcing that at all if they can't understand the limits of their mandate. Some of them can't even understand that there are limits to their mandate. And that brings me to another point. This is my big concern there, Kashid, as the Solicitor General of all these police officers. Let me share with you what my concern is. Here's what one of my main concerns are. Now, these police officers, there's a thing, certain legislation